Hi. This time I'm going to see if I can attach meters to this system in order to see how well charged the battery is and how much power is flowing through the system. So we have standard solar system here with solar panels we made earlier, charging the battery via the charge controller, and then the battery powers the motor. But I don't really know how well charged the battery is. I don't really know how much power is going to the motor. So I bought these 2 meters here from eBay just recently, and I'm going to see if I can attach them to the system and work out how much power is going into it and how well charged this battery is. I'm going to start off with this one, and the reason for that is it came with instructions. That one unfortunately didn't. It seems quite easy to attach this. It seems all we do is attach these 2 ends to the battery, and that'll then give us the voltage of the battery, and then these 2 ends to the motor, and so all the power flows through this to the motor, and this can check how much power is going to it. I think what I'm going to have to do is put ring connectors on the end here so it'll be easy to attach it to everything. So I'll just solder those on now. I've put these ring connectors on the end of the wires now, and now I'm going to solder them in. Now I have the ring connectors attached, I'm going to place this onto the battery. I wire these, the source, into the battery, and then the ends I'm going to put onto this junction box here that I've created. And the reason I've created this is to separate them, because I expect once these are attached to the battery, if you touch those together it would short circuit it and probably blow whatever goes on in here. And now that this is wired in, it's on. So it's saying there's 13.7 volts in the battery, which means that's fully charged. And at the moment, there's no power coming out of it. And now what I'm going to do is wire the motor into this. Before I do that, I'll just note which is positive, which is negative, just to make sure. And then just put the positive wire from the motor, negative onto the negative. And now it says it's using 2.6 watts with nothing going through it. That's up to 20 watts. And I'll put some water in a bucket below it to do any more than that, because otherwise I might damage the motor. We have a full bucket of water now. Still saying 2.6 watts. I'll turn this on. Goes up to 20 watts. A little bit faster. 30 watts. 60 watts. And I think that's about as much as I'm going to do here. That was quite simple really. Just wire it up to here, it shows the voltage of the battery, so how well charged the battery is, and shows how much power is going through it to go to the motor. Now I'm going to try and wire up the other one. I found the wiring diagrams from eBay and they're a little bit more complicated, so we'll see how I get on with that. Right, this is the other meter here, and it's rather more complicated than the first one. I have to attach this to the battery here. That's got a known resistance across it, and then these wires attach across here, and they measure the current and the voltage across that, goes into here. Then I have to attach these two wires to here. This one tests the voltage of the whole system, and this one is to give the internal power supply to the meter. And since it needs a power supply of up to 30 volts, and this gives 12 volts, then it's fine for me to attach that directly to there. Sounds easy? Right, I'm starting off attaching this to the negative of the battery. I've been thinking about this. It's actually quite positive in a lot of ways the way this meter works, because you don't get all the power flowing through the meter. You just get the meter testing the power going through this little resistance here. And so a lot less gets used up and a lot less is going on inside here to go wrong. Okay, so that's attached. Now I need to attach these across the resistor. So I'll do that just by cutting off a little bit of the ends here, stripping the ends. And I wire this into here, the negative here to the negative of the battery, and the positive to this side. Now I have to wire this side in, and we said the yellow here goes to the positive of the whole system, and the red here provides the internal power supply for the watt meter, and that needs to go to something that's under 30 volts. And since the whole system's only 12 volts, that can also go to the positive here. So I wire both of these into the positive of the battery. And then the black lead here, apparently that's not used. And the last thing I have to do is I have to move the load from coming off here to coming off here. And that's so that the current that goes into that comes through here first, and so it can measure the current going across here. Otherwise, all the current just goes through here, nothing goes across here, and it would measure 0. Okay, so all that's on. Now I just have to plug this in. Hopefully it works. That's good at the moment, showing 12.8 volts and no amps going through it. Let's see what happens when we turn this on. 2 amps, 1.94 amps. So from that you can work out how much power is going through it. 12 volts, 2 amps, that's about 24, 25, 12.4 volts, 25 watts. A bit more, 5 amps at 12 volts, that's getting close to 60 watts. I think that's enough for the moment. That's it. 2 different meters, different ways of working, show the same thing. This one's a little bit easier to read because it lights up more brightly, but this one gives you a little bit more information. I think I'll use both.
This shows you as clearly as possible all the wiring.